Our friend Sean Davis joins us now. He is the co-founder and CEO of the Federalist. Great work being done at thefederalist.com day in and day out. Sean, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell everybody what's going on, because there's this noise about Marjorie Taylor Greene wanting to replace Johnson. Wait, did Johnson do something? There's money going overseas, $90 billion. What has happened first before we dive too far into what the heck is next?
So let's back up. Kevin McCarthy was deposed. They had a motion to vacate, removed him. They put in Mike Johnson, I think, late October, early November. Mike Johnson looked good from the outset, said all the right things, seemed to believe all the right things, but specifically he made a number of claims and promises, foremost of which was he was not going to be moving money overseas for Ukraine or anyone else until our own border was secured. Those were his words. That was an ironclad, obvious, explicit commitment. And instead, we are in a position right now where he is attempting to force through the House under threat of a motion to vacate for Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is pending, a massive, massive overseas aid bill, something like $100 billion for Ukraine, a bunch of money in Israel, a bunch of money throughout Asia, and not a dime for the border. And so what's happening is there is chaos and disunity and all kinds of rancor in the House right now surrounding this, and it is all because Mike Johnson, for reasons I simply do not understand, refuses to honor his pledge and his promise to fix and fund border security before throwing another $100 billion at a non-American problem overseas.
So where does this all go? Effectively, are we just going to be waiting until November to see? And Sean, it's good to talk with you. Good to see you on Friday at the Marsha Blackburn event. And keep up the good work, as I said then. But where does this all go? Are we just waiting till November to see who's going to have control of the House? Until then, does it matter a great deal who the speaker is?
Well, right now, Democrats control the House right now. If you look at which bills have passed over the last 6 months or so,
right,
I think all but one has been passed with a majority of Democrat votes, not with a majority of Republican votes. So right now, Democrats are controlling the House. They're calling the shots. Democrats are controlling the Senate. So the question we have is, can we get to November without completely shooting ourselves in the foot and give Republican voters a reason to actually vote for Republicans and take back our country? Because looking at it right now, you look what Republicans are doing in Washington. They have the majority. Now, albeit it's a slim one, they have the majority. They have the numbers. They can actually bring Biden and Schumer over in the Senate to heel, and yet they refuse to do so, again, for reasons I simply do not understand. So from my perspective, the challenge for November is getting there without actually losing the majority, which we've been steadily losing for the last 6 months. I think it's now down to 2 seats. But actually getting to November with a reason for Republican voters to vote for Republicans, because I'll tell you right now, looking at what they're doing in Washington, I'm having a tough time coming up with a good reason to vote for Republicans in the House when all they do is pass Democrat bills.
Yeah, and Sean, I just have to wonder how many times we're supposed to go through this cycle. And look, it's some people in both Congress and in the media do this whole, if we have a new leader, everything will be fine. We talked about this when there was the push to get rid of McCarthy. It's like, okay, but is everything going to change? Is everything going to be fine? Or is this just now, Groundhog Day for us? I mean, what do you think the posture should be of Republicans in the House between now and the election so that we don't lose the majority, which is really about as thin as it could possibly be already?
I think the job of the House right now is to block nonsense from Joe Biden and to force Democrats to take votes they don't want to take so that we can maybe, hopefully, secure our border and fix the damage that's been done to the country. So stop the nonsense Biden is doing, force Democrats to take bad votes. Congressional Republican leadership is doing the opposite. They're like running away from trying to make Democrats take tough votes. Why on earth did they not make Democrats just vote up or down on Israel and secure U.S. border? That, to me, is the easiest thing in the world, and yet Republican leaders are doing everything they can to make it as difficult and pointless as possible. And honestly, I think the big problem is we have no leadership in Washington, D.C. We actually have no representation as normal voters, people who spend 6-7 months a year working just to fund the government. We have no one in Washington who seems to care about the things that are bothering us every day. Gas prices, how groceries are unaffordable, how roads and bridges are broken, all the things that we used to take for granted, which are just basic kind of daily necessities of life, are completely unaffordable. And what people in Washington, what Republican leaders are focusing on is not fixing those problems, but in sending more money to Ukraine. So I personally think we need a complete wholesale cleaning of the house of leadership, and we actually need to put people in there who are true leaders who care about the country more than they care about what the establishment
John,
wants.
how do they explain $95 billion in this House Appropriations Committee going overseas and not, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, not a dollar going for the border? How can they make that calculation and not expect people to just say, "What are you doing?"
I don't think they care. I truly don't think they care.
Wow.
I don't know if it's something that's in the water. I mean, Mike Johnson, for example, this guy had a press conference where he straight up said, "We're not doing this nonsense until we fix the border." And then he's gone and apparently forgotten he ever said that, because you'll notice none of his lieutenants or him ever actually try to explain their way around it. They just want you to forget they ever made the pledge. And I think people in Washington, I think they just don't care. I think they've drunk the Kool-Aid when it comes to Ukraine or Russia or whatever, and they have decided, again for reasons that elude me, that a regional war between Russia and Ukraine that doesn't involve us is the literal most important thing happening in the world today. And if you're upset about gas prices or crime or your streets falling apart or the border being non-existent, it's only because you're a tool of Putin.
Sean, I don't know if you've got a strong take on this, but there's also talk that somehow this border bill could also include TikTok. And we know that the Senate moved aggressively on TikTok, and the House has to kind of figure out what to do. What do you think should happen with TikTok?
I think TikTok should be banned. I'm not really down with the whole divesting thing. It looks a little too much like the Intel surveillance state just wants to make sure its buddies at Facebook or Google have control of this massive surveillance tool so that then they can use it against their own people a lot more than they care about blocking China. So I think, it's a tool of a communist government. Of course it shouldn't exist here any more than we would have been cool with importing a bunch of radios from the Soviet Union in 1960 that we knew they were listening in on during the midst of the Cold War. If somebody had proposed that in 1950 or 1960, they would have looked at you like you were a crazy person. Yeah, well, of course we should have Soviet radios with listening devices in their homes in the middle of the Cold War. So I think TikTok should be banned, but I also have pretty serious concerns about a government picking and choosing which websites are allowed to exist in this country. So while I think TikTok should be banned, that bill that they were pushing was an awful bill. It was poorly written. It was poorly reasoned. It had terrible downstream effects and unintended consequences. I think the bill was a disaster, but as far as allowing Chinese surveillance and spy tools to be in our pockets walking around with us, I think that's insanity.
No doubt. Sean, look forward to seeing you again sometime soon in the great state of Tennessee. Keep up the good work, and appreciate you being flexible today.
Y'all are crushing it. Keep it up. Thank you for having me on.
For sure. That's Sean Davis, CEO, founder of the Federalist. They do great work there, including our friend Molly Hemingway, who does fantastic articles for them as well. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk, you're getting the best service for the least amount of money every month. In fact, $20 a month gets you unlimited talk, text, plenty of 5G data from Pure Talk. Same quality of service as AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile. Half the cost, though. Average size family will save almost $1,000 a year. No contracts or activation fees. They make it easy. When you switch to Pure Talk, you keep your phone and your phone number, and their customer service team is great. They're all here in the good old USA, eager to help. Make the switch today. Save an additional 50% off your first month. Choose a wireless company who shares our values and who creates American jobs. That's Pure Talk. My 15-year-old, he just turned 16. My 16-year-old has his own Pure Talk phone. I was texting with him a little bit earlier during the day. I use it to stay in touch with him. Soon, my 14-year-old will get his own cell phone. It'll be a Pure Talk phone. We use it to stay in touch with our family. you can do the same, and you can save a bundle in the process. Dial pound 250, say the keywords Clay and Buck. Make the switch today. That's pound 250, say the keywords Clay and Buck.